Hey, I'm Nicole. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about something that I have never actually talked publicly about before, exactly how much money I made last year. As a creative who has fully embraced the gig economy, the side hustle culture that we are all ultimately facing, especially as creatives running our own businesses, we tend to focus on a lot of the creative things. We don't like to spend a lot of time doing the grunt work of looking at finances, but I think it's good for me to look back on the past year, see exactly where my income came from, and hopefully it'll also help me look for opportunities to turn on some more income streams or to turn up some of my existing income streams as we go into this current year. So why am I doing this? While financial transparency is something that is quite scary to put yourself out there and tell the entire world what it is you earn, but I do always appreciate when other creatives share their financials because it gives me a measure as to what's realistic, what's achievable, and what other people are doing. So I'm sharing mine in the spirit of being open, and hopefully it'll give you some kind of insight, but also give you some hope that even though you may be thinking about ditching a well-paid job to pivot into something which is a bit more aligned with your passion and your love, that it is entirely possible to build up, even from small pots, into something a bit bigger. I'm going to say straight off the bat, this is not the income picture that I dream of long term. I would love to be earning more money than this. As you'll see, my income streams are pretty varied, with loads bringing in a little bit and a couple pulling up the rear. Bear in mind that the numbers I'm going to show you are gross figures. So these are gross amounts of income. It is not what I have been able to take home. From these amounts, things like processing fees. So whenever I get any sales through my website or any other channels, generally the platform or the provider or the app will take a fee. So a lot of these amounts show the amounts gross of that fee. So fees get taken out. There are also lots of business expenses that I have to pay for that come out of this income. For example, my website hosting fees, accounting fees, cloud storage fees, taxes, all the rest of it. Just bear that in mind as I go through the figures. So are you ready? Let's get into it. In the past year, I actually had 10 individual income streams. Oh, Maxi decided he wanted to say hello. Say hello, Maxi. Say hello. And I kind of organize them into buckets. So the first bucket is physical products. That's split into three main product categories. One is clothing. This category includes things like when I buy things secondhand and resell, or when I have wardrobe sales and sell things from my wardrobe, or also when I sell anything on Vinted. I put all of that within this category. The second is jewelry or jewelry supplies, which is something that's not really been a major income source for me for some time. Designing and selling jewelry was my full-time job for about 7 or 8 years. I left that part of the business behind. But this year, randomly, I did have a little bit of income coming in from jewelry. The next bucket is digital products. I do have some digital products that I sell via my website and also via platforms like Buy Me a Coffee. The first category in there is sewing patterns. I have a few digital sewing patterns that I sell on my website. And this year I launched one new pattern, which was a pattern and sew along for a mini towel coat that I made in the summer. But I also have a few sewing patterns that I brought out in previous years still on my website that I still get a few sales from. The next category under digital products is online courses and workshops. I have in the past filmed online courses and workshops to do with knitwear repair or sewing related workshops like how to copy a garment pattern from a ready-to-wear garment. The final category within my digital products bucket is something that is relatively new and is something that I'm looking to expand more as we go into 2026. And that is what I'm calling premium packaged content. So this is not full-on online courses and workshops that have modules and are filmed in high definition specifically for watching on computers or laptops. These are almost pocket-sized, very discrete pieces of content. So it might be project tutorial, it might be a piece of content where I'm addressing a particular topic or talking about something that I think is more premium paid content than it is something I would put for free, for example, on my Instagram or here on YouTube. It's something I started testing a little bit towards the end of last year, and I will be looking to develop that a lot more as we go into the new year. The next bucket I call service income. So this is income that I get from performing services, whether it's regular or ad hoc. The first big category in there is repairs and alterations. As I've mentioned in previous videos, doing repairs and alterations is something that I take on on the side for income. It's probably been the type of work that's been the most steady in terms of income for me. And as you see later on, it's one of the bigger income streams that I have. The second category that I have under my service income is things like ad hoc workshops and consultancies. This year I got invited to do 2 workshops and to be involved in 2 university residencies with the Sustenta project. I was brought in as a consultant or effectively an expert to come in and run some workshops with the students and things like that. The final income bracket that I have is social media income. If you've only just discovered me from YouTube, you may or may not know that I have a much bigger audience over on Instagram, and a lot of my income that comes from social media comes from my work on Instagram. I'm hoping this year that will change, that YouTube will start to become a new income stream for me, but we're not there yet. I will keep you posted on that. Under my social media income, I have one bucket, which is my paid subscriptions. On my Instagram account, I offered paid subscriptions. So people pay $2.99 a month and they get access to exclusive content that I do for them on Instagram. My subscribers on Instagram also get other perks like discounts on my online courses and workshops, early access to my wardrobe sales or other sales that I'm doing, and things like that. The second income stream that I have, which is social media related, is paid partnerships. This is an area that I could certainly develop more. It's probably one of the more untapped income streams that I have. This is also not an area that I've particularly pushed on. I could be a lot more active in seeking out companies and other brands that I'd like to work with. And I do have a small list actually. So this is one of the things on my list to do this year, is to do a few more paid partnerships with brands and with companies that I align with, because I think this is an income stream that could do a lot better for me than it currently has. The final category I've got under this social media related income, it's not something I've focused on, but I've put it there. It's UGC, which is user generated content. In case you don't know what this is where you create content, not for your own channels, but for other brands' channels. It is a massively growing area of content creation, because I think brands are really copping on to the understanding that people sell products. It's all well and good for a brand to say, oh, we're the best and our product's amazing, but when it comes from real people, it seems so much more genuine and authentic. Now, this is not traditional UGC. The ones I've done are not traditional UGC. I'm very careful with that. But as we go through the months and I show you the months where I have earned some content from UGC, I'll explain what it is, and you'll see that it's not really traditional UGC, but I put it in there because it's content that I've made that I got paid for that was not for my own channels. Now I'm going to take you through month by month last year and tell you exactly how much I made in each of those income streams every month. In January last year, I made £20 from sewing pattern sales, £51 from my online courses and workshops, £795 from my repair and alteration work, and £147 from my paid subscriptions on Instagram, giving me a total gross income in January of £1,013. In February, I sold one item from my wardrobe for £105, £25 from sewing pattern sales on my website, £6 from my online courses and workshops, £315 from my repair and alteration work, and £138 in paid subscriptions, giving me a grand gross total in February of £589. In March, I made £40 from my sewing pattern sales, £35 from my online courses and workshops, £2,387 from my repair and alteration work, and that was from a huge batch of knitwear repairs that I did for one particular client, £120 from an ad hoc workshop, and £176 in paid subscriptions, giving me a gross total of £2,758. In April, I had a relatively big wardrobe sale and made £487. Sewing pattern sales were £40. Online courses and workshops, £51. Alteration and repair work, £65. I had actually taken a little break from doing alterations and repairs after that big batch of knitwear repairs that I did, because I wanted to spend a little bit more time and focus on some of my more creative projects and get back into some Instagram content. I earned £284 from paid subscriptions, and I put £25 as UGC in there. This was a fee that I got from The Seam, which is the company that I get a lot of my repair and alteration work through. They pay me for some of the bits of content that I filmed doing my repairs and alterations, which they edit and create content for on their own platform, giving me a gross total of £952. In May, I made £117 from my wardrobe sale that I guess was just a residual carry-on from the month before. I also randomly sold a piece of jewellery from my website for £200. I probably shouldn't really count this in my income because I was actually selling it on behalf of a customer, so I ended up paying her that money, so really I shouldn't be counting that as my own income. But I thought it might be interesting to include just because sometimes I wonder whether I do dip in and out of jewellery sales, but that's a conversation for another day. Sewing pattern sales were £30. Online courses and workshops, £106. I earned £255 from my alteration and repair work, £354 from my paid subscriptions, and £500 from a paid partnership that month, giving me a gross total of £1,562. In June, I had a random jewellery supply order from somebody who was doing one of my jewellery courses, and she wanted the supplies to make the necklace that I was doing in that tutorial. So I earned £39 from selling jewellery supplies. Sewing pattern sales were £65. Online courses and workshops, £6. Alteration and repair work, £271. And paid subscriptions brought in £337, giving me a gross total of £718. In July, I made £40 from sewing pattern sales, £6 from online courses and workshops, £670 from my repair and alteration work, £244 from paid subscriptions. And this was a good month for paid partnerships. I earned £3,250 from paid partnerships, largely due to one campaign that I got paid £3,000 for, giving me a gross total of £4,210. In August, I made £100 from sewing pattern sales, £6 from my online courses and workshops, £292 from my alteration and repair work, £237 from paid subscriptions, and £500 came from UGC. This came via an event that I went to with my friend Anna. The organisers of the event paid us to give them our footage of the event that they could use across their socials, giving me a gross total of £1,135. In September, I sold a piece of clothing on Vinted for £17. I had launched my new sewing pattern and sew along and made £570 in sewing pattern sales. £6 came from my online courses and workshops, £98 from my repair and alteration work, £243 in paid subscriptions, and £500 from paid partnerships, giving me a gross total of £1,434. In October, I made £28 from sewing pattern sales, £150 from my repair and alteration work, £300 for my workshops and consultancy, and £362 in paid subscriptions, giving me a gross total of £840. In November, I did £14 in sewing pattern sales, £40 in premium packaged content. This is an area that I am looking to grow and explore more going into this year. And these are sales of premium pieces of content where the traffic was driven from one of my YouTube videos. I made £237 from my repair and alteration work, £232 in paid subscriptions, and £500 from paid partnerships, giving me a gross total of £1,023. In December, I made £10 from sewing pattern sales, £200 from my premium packaged content, and you can see why this is an area that I think would be great for me to grow and explore this year, £1,031 from my repair and alteration work. I did take on a lot of knitwear repair jobs in December, and £357 from my paid subscriptions, giving me a gross total of £1,598. Now let's add those up into totals for the entire year. In secondhand clothing sales, I made £726, jewellery and jewellery supplies £239, sewing patterns generated £962, online courses and workshops £273, premium package content £240, alterations and repairs £6,506, workshops and consultancy services £420, paid subscriptions £3,111, paid partnerships £4,750, and UCG £525, giving me a gross total for the whole year of £17,832. But as I said, bear in mind that was not all take-home pay. I wish it was, but it wasn't. As percentages of the whole, the biggest bucket that earns me income is from my social media. I always thought that my repair and alteration work actually earned me more, but last year, 47% of my income actually came via social media related income streams, and 37% came from repairs and alterations. Even though at the moment it's a relatively small percentage, the digital product sales, this is an area that I think I could expand a lot more. Currently, I don't do a huge amount of promotion and marketing of these digital products, but I could. And as I get more involved in YouTube, one of the things I'm looking to do is drive some traffic from my YouTube videos and onto my more premium content and online workshops and courses and things like that. So we'll see how that goes. As I mentioned, the other area that I am looking to put a little bit more focus into income-wise next year is growing my paid partnerships. I will have to do this a bit strategically and a bit carefully because I have to make sure I'm aligning with brands that make sense with my account and what I'm about. But it's certainly an area that I have only scratched the surface of. And the final one I'm considering is UGC. Again, I'm going to be very careful about the brands that I work with, but I generate so much content anyway. I just think it might be something worth exploring for me potentially going into this year. And that's it. I hope you found the information insightful and helpful in giving you a bit of a realistic picture into what a creative like me currently earns. I'm hoping that when I do this in a year's time, that the picture will look very, very different in a positive way. Lots of plans in the pipeline. It's time for me to step up now and turn all of this so-called talent into some actual money that I can live from. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel because there's many, many more videos to come this year. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next video.